Morning, my grade 11s, on this lovely sunny morning from my COVID classroom. I hope you are all doing so well. Well, let's start with lesson number 5, which is going to be your cartoons. But before that, we need to mark your visual literacy homework that I gave you. Right, let's start with number 1. Please rewrite the following so that they will be a generalization. Okay, now generalization means it applies to everybody and it is not so. So the first sentence was South Africans are sports fanatics and know nothing about theatre. Well, that's not true. To make or turn it into a generalization, I will say all South Africans are sports fanatics and they know nothing about theatre, which we all know is not the case. Right, number 2, people who speak English with a strange accent are uneducated. Not true, but we generalize it by saying people who speak English with a strange accent are all uneducated. Is that true? No. Number 3, women are weak and easy to control. To generalize it so that it applies to every woman, we will rewrite it by saying all women are weak and easy to control. Number 4, teenagers are selfish and think only of themselves. In this case, to generalize it so that it applies to every teenager, we'll use the word all teenagers are selfish and think only of themselves. Number 5, South African men are bullies. South African men are all bullies, or all South African men are bullies. Okay, as long as your sentence makes sense. Right, then we go to number 2, where you had to read this diary entry and then you had to take out 3 generalizations from that. The 3 generalizations were: all teenagers think of nothing but themselves, which is not true. Number 2, look at the CDs and listen to music like other young people, meaning that he generalizes that other young people all listen to music and look at CDs, and he also wants to do that. The last one, do all young people think money grows on trees? Meaning that they think that all young people always think money grows on trees. Right, then we go to number 3. Say whether the following sentences are stereotypes, bias, or emotive language. All women can cook. That is labeling someone. Okay, and it is called stereotyping when you label them. In this case, labeling women that they can all cook, which is also not true. Number B, I was devastated when my diet didn't work. There's your emotive word, devastated, meaning it's emotive language. Okay. Number C, girls are more intelligent than boys, and men, number D, are better drivers than women. Both of those will be biased because they express an opinion which is not supported by facts. Okay, that is when you are biased. You look down on someone, you express an opinion which is subjective, and there is no concrete facts to back it up. Then number E, local food is the absolute best in the whole world. You have to try it. That is again emotive language. It is the absolute best in the whole world. The person wants to convince you that this is an absolute necessity to try this. Right, now we move on to cartoons. You will remember that we started last time with the visual literacy, which could be basically anything, but we are going to focus on the 2 main ones, cartoons and adverts. I will also give you some exercises on some of the others as well, but let's see what are the features and things you can expect in a cartoon. When you analyze a cartoon, the following aspects are important. You need to read it first to get an idea of the context and understand the message or the comment on an issue or on a life event or a sports event that is being made by the cartoonist. Then the purpose of this cartoon. Why did this cartoonist, for example, Zapiru, for example, maybe, why did he draw this cartoon? Was it to be serious, humorous? What was the reason behind it, the purpose? Then you also need to go and look at the body language of the characters because that affects your cartoon and how you interpret it. And we will get back to body language a bit later, but that makes it believable. Okay. The choice of font that is used. Okay, is it going to be cursive, Times New Roman, Old English, whatever type of font? The size that he uses, the boldness, all of those things are done for a reason, to bring meaning to this cartoon. Because if it is in bold, it could indicate urgency. It could indicate playfulness if it's in Comic Sans or written in a childish manner. It could indicate confusion, anger, and this goes hand in hand with punctuation, which is also used. Okay? Because you can get a lot of exclamation marks, which will indicate urgency, okay, or maybe excitement or playfulness, right? Then you can get a lot of stars and whatever that can indicate anger. So bold font and punctuation kind of goes hand in hand to explain your cartoon. The background reveals the time and place, which we call setting, okay? You need to understand that setting is always the time and the place. Is it playing of present time? Is it maybe an historical event or certain political event that the cartoonist is referring to? This gives you insight as to why the cartoonist drew this cartoon, because it addresses an issue or event, historical, current affairs, Hitler, Garfield, Madam and Eve, which is a social thing with the housekeeper and her madam, and their interaction, okay? It could also be sport events, lions versus bulls, for example, and what happened there. Right, then the next thing we look at are our characters in the cartoon. We call them the caricatures, okay? The cartoonist comments on a current issue, and by doing that, he might exaggerate a facial or bodily feature of the character. For example, if it is a sports event, he might draw the two rugby captains with very big heads, okay? Or he might put a lion's head on the lion captain and a bull's head on the bull captain to just exaggerate or bring across a feature of them. The characters could reflect on a sports, political, cultural, social, or religious event, as we have said. Usually, cartoonists are being used by newspapers to draw something which reflects on something political or sport-like or anything on the social scene that happened during that week or that day, or that is the highlight of the moment. Like Donald Trump, Jacob Zuma was in the news quite a lot, Prince Charles, Lady Diana, famous people, okay, certain events that might be highlighted. Now we get to the body language, as I explained to you, and the facial expressions. The way you stand, as I've said to you in class, when I look at each one of you, I can't just answer in my exam paper, you are interested, because of your body language and facial expressions. Because when I look at each one of you during a lesson, you each portray a different body language and you have a lot of different facial expressions. So just by saying facial expressions, it does not explain why you are interested. Okay, so you always need to be specific and indicate what facial expression or what bodily feature. You have a frown on your forehead, you are smiling, you are sitting with your head on your hands, for example, or with crossed arms. That is your bodily feature. But you need to be specific because this is what gives you your marks. Not facial expressions or body language. Be specific, okay? Now, what do facial expressions reveal about a person? When you look at your friend in the morning, you immediately know if they are in a good mood, or if they're angry, or if they're sad. So facial expressions reveal humor, anger, doubt, sadness, fear, depression, whatever emotion you want to link to your facial expression. But you pick it up in someone's eyes and in their facial expression immediately. So interpreting the language or body language in cartoons, okay? We have facial expressions that is used, gestures made by the cartoonist or the caricatures rather, and action lines which you will see in your cartoon. Now, what do the facial expressions tell us? Big eyes could show surprise, okay? Both of them, or shock. That could also be. A round open mouth can indicate shock or shouting. A frown may indicate anger or disagreement. A smile, happiness. The corners of the mouth, which is turned down, could show dissatisfaction, unhappiness, or disappointment. Eyebrows turned outwards, disappointment. Eyebrows which converge, there you see them, that can definitely show anger. Right, then we go to body language and features of body language. And the ones we see, first of all, in the language that is used is vocabulary, and is it informal language, colloquial, jargon, or slang? Informal language are used to create believable characters. Yeah, my best bud. Colloquial language, on the other hand, is a language spoken by a group of people, like the Cape Coloured people, the Cape Malay people. They have wonderful expressions in their language, a very colourful language that is used. Then Australians, yeah, matey, they have their own way of speaking, as well as the Cockney English. Then we also identify jargon. Now, jargon is a job-related language, as is used by doctors, dentists, lawyers, engineers. For example, a doctor would say the arterial wall of the aorta. And you might be, what am I dying? Okay, that is the professional language which is used by these people. Then we identify slang, and you are good at that. Check that, dude. See you later, alligator. Gotcha, cool dude, and so forth. Now, when you write, you're definitely never allowed to use slang. But please note that in your paper, you could be asked to provide proper formal English for that. How would you write it in better English? Check that, dude. Okay. You have to be able to rephrase it into proper, formal, correct English. Then what are the features of a cartoon? A cartoon strip, when we look at it here, which we will get to, is made up of frames. Okay, right. Each separate drawing is called a frame. and it usually builds up to a punch line, which is usually your last phrase that is spoken in your cartoon. Okay, the punchline consists of the last few words that make up the story, and it can be amusing or clever. Right, then we also identify tone. Now, tone reveals the writer's attitude to this issue. How is he feeling about this? Is it critical, cynical, jealous, emphatic, humorous? What is his tone towards it, his attitude towards it, okay? Mood has an emotional effect. So how does that something affect the reader? How do you feel? Okay, please note this is the writer's attitude, and mood has an effect on the reader. That is mood. Okay, how do you feel when you read this cartoon or when you read a poem? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling optimistic, positive, somber, upset? Okay. When they ask you in a paper, what is the mood or the tone of the cartoonist or of Garfield? Please only give a one-word answer. Hopeful. Don't say Garfield is feeling hopeful, because then you will not get a mark. You need to just give the mood or the tone in one-word answers. Right. Now, when you look at your cartoon, you will see that sometimes there's a little box, which we call a text box, and that sets the scene. It is one Monday at lunchtime where this is happening. Then the girl has something to say, and it is in a speech bubble, which is a round, smooth-edged bubble, okay? And there's only sometimes a tail with no bubble, like here. He's just speaking, but there's no bubble. There's only a little tail there that shows us what he is saying. Okay. Then we also identify the frames. Each picture is in a frame as the story develops. Frame 1, frame 2, frame 3. Okay. Then when somebody is thinking, she's talking, yeah, and he sits there and you can see he is thinking, okay, with his hand on his chin. A thought bubble has rounded edges. You can see the little cloud. He is thinking, okay. And there might be some circles there, as I've indicated, for the tail. All right. Then you go to a shout bubble. She's now very upset with him. You can just see it in her face. A shout bubble has spiky edges, okay? And the tail looks a bit like lightning, also spiky. That is a shout bubble, a thought bubble, and just a plain speech bubble, okay? Then we get the font, as we have discussed already. This one is very bold, in your face with a lot of exclamation marks. The bold font, the capital letters, okay, and all the exclamation marks back up the shouting bubble to say that she is shouting. Then the tail, we get to the punchline. Yes, you don't need to shout, okay? I can hear you perfectly well. So that is the punchline. The last speech is usually the punchline. And the tail of the speech bubble points to the person who is talking. That I'm sure you have picked up in reading your cartoons. Okay. Then people, there is also a few other things that you need to know when you interpret cartoons. Cartoonists make use of pun. Okay, now pun is a play of words where a double meaning is used to convey the humor or bring across the humor. It is a play on the different meanings of similar or identical words in a sentence. Okay, it contains at least one word that will have two or more meanings. For example, Is life worth living? Oh, I don't know. It depends on the liver. Humorous, liver, and life worth living. There's the play of words. Canaries for sale, cheap. Now, canaries, the chirping, cheeping sound, this is spelled incorrectly, but the sound sounds the same as cheap, cheap. Canaries for sale, cheap. Okay. No two ways, but this diet will work. Way is the weight, okay, not a way as in a direction. So weight and diet, there is your play on words. No two ways. This diet will work, okay. It's raining cats and dogs. Ha! I just stepped in a puddle. Very funny because cats and dogs, and poodle is a dog. You can't step in a poodle. You can step in a puddle. Okay, so there's your play on words again, and therefore we call it a pun. Okay, play of words. Right, then we carry on with the satire. Sometimes a cartoonist would like to have a bit of biting humor or to mock or ridicule this person. If it's maybe a politician, he will use satire to criticize the issue. Okay? Quicker than a 10 rand note in a supermarket. Phew, this year flew. It's November already. Here the connotation is that a 10 rand has no lasting value. So by using that idea, it indicates that the year also has no value. It's almost finished. Okay, just like that 10 rand note. Cliche, we also tell you in your written pieces, watch out for them. They are overused expressions, a phrase or an idiom, okay, that has lost its oomph, its impact. Rather, get a new one to compare something to. I'm as fit as a fiddle, or to revert back in time, this and this and this. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We all have to turn a new leaf. If I have to just think of a ballpark figure, or level the playing field. Let's level the playing field and start all over. Literally, this means this, or basically, I want to do that or that. These are words that have been overused. So rather try and find different words. But if they ask you to comment on the cliche used by the cartoonist, please go and look for these overused expressions or words that has lost its impact. Then cartoonists might also use euphemism. That is to soften something, okay? Put it in a kinder or softer way, like he passed away, he died, all right? You don't say, oh, he died yesterday. No, he passed away, or he's dancing with the angels now, or something in a softer manner. Please note that these are a few of your parts of speech. Figures of speech rather, sorry. You need to go and look at all the figures of speech for paper 1 as well, not just for paper 2, because they might ask you to apply a certain figure of speech, oxymoron, personification, a simile, which appears in a cartoon strip or in an advert. So these are definitely important for you to go and have a look at as well, for both cartoons as well as for adverts. Right. Then your homework assignment, I've given you 2 cartoons where you need to go and answer a few questions by interpreting those cartoons. One is a cartoon strip, the other one is just one cartoon which has been drawn. Okay. Next time I will give you the answers to these. I know that they might not be quite clear, but I will also ask Mrs. H to send it to your class representatives, the RCL, so that they can post it for you. Have a lovely day further, and I can't wait to see you guys again. Bye-bye.